Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's one of the most legendary and influential crossover events in comic book history. This DC Comics mega event is written by Marv Wolfman with art by George Perez and was designed to clean up decades of continuity issues caused by the multiverse, streamlining DC's history into a single, cohesive universe. But to achieve this, entire realities had to die. The story isn't just about heroism, it's about sacrifice, destruction, and literally the end of worlds. Across DC's infinite multiverse, worlds coexist but remain separate. However, the Anti-Monitor, an ancient being from the antimatter universe, seeks to consume all positive matter realities, leaving only his dark dominion. To stop him, his counterpart, the Monitor, gathers the greatest heroes from across time and space to form a last stand. So the Anti-Monitor unleashes waves of antimatter, wiping out entire Earths in seconds. Universes like Earth 3, home of the crime syndicate, are completely erased, along with billions of lives. The Monitor, knowing the devastation to come, begins recruiting heroes and villains to resist the cosmic apocalypse. Superman from Earth 1 and Earth 2, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and many more unite for the greatest battle in history. Even villains like Lex Luthor and Brainiac join the fight, realizing that if the Anti-Monitor wins, nothing will be left to rule. And in one of the most famous and heartbreaking moments in comic book history, Supergirl fights the Anti-Monitor alone, buying time for the heroes to escape. But despite her immense power, she is fatally wounded, dying in Superman's arms. The Anti-Monitor here builds a cosmic antimatter cannon to obliterate what remains of the multiverse. Barry Allen, aka The Flash, races against time, running so fast that he disintegrates into pure energy to destroy the weapon, sacrificing himself to save all of existence. And with only a few of Earths remaining, the remaining heroes storm the Anti-Monitor's fortress in the antimatter universe. Earth 2 Superman and Alexander Luthor Jr. of Earth 3 and Superboy Prime deal the final blow to the Anti-Monitor, hurling him into an eternal void. In the end, all realities merge into one, creating the new DC universe, where only one Earth exists. Many heroes who once had different versions across multiple Earths now have a single definitive history. This reshapes the DC universe permanently, erasing certain characters and rewriting entire backstories. Unlike most comic book events where cities or planets are destroyed, Crisis completely wipes out infinite realities, making their histories meaningless. And Supergirl and Barry Allen do not come back immediately. Their deaths are felt for years in DC Comics. The crime syndicate dies together, trying to save their world, only for it to be completely erased. So before Crisis, DC Comics had multiple versions of characters. For example, to Superman, to Batman, and Crisis merged them into one streamlined universe, simplifying continuity. And after Crisis, DC Comics relaunched Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman with modernized origin stories that shaped the next generation of comics. And to this day, Crisis on Infinite Earths remains one of the most important stories not just in DC Comics but in comic book history. It is a massive, tragic, and epic saga about the end of all things and the birth of something new. And it had permanent consequences, making it a true game changer for DC. Nightfall. It's one of the most iconic and brutal Batman stories ever told. Written by Chuck Dixon, Doug Moench, and Alan Grant, with art by Graham Nolan, Jim Aparo, and Kelly Jones, this three-part saga explores the breaking of Batman, physically, mentally, and even symbolically. It introduces Bane, who systematically destroys Bruce Wayne before breaking his back, forcing Gotham to face a new dangerous Batman in his place. So a new enemy arrives in Gotham City, Bane, a ruthless strategist enhanced by the super steroid Venom. Unlike most of Batman's villains, Bane doesn't just want to kill Batman, he wants to break him completely. Bane enacts a meticulously planned campaign. He studies Batman from the shadows, learning everything about his fighting style, weaknesses, and psychology. He frees every major villain from Arkham Asylum, forcing Batman into a relentless, exhausting gauntlet of battles. Over several weeks, Batman barely sleeps, suffering beatings, injuries, and psychological torment as he recaptures Joker, Scarecrow, Riddler, and more, and by the end, Bruce is physically and mentally drained, and that's when Bane makes his move. With Batman at his weakest, Bane ambushes him in Wayne Manor, proving that he knows his secret identity. The two fight in the Batcave, but Bruce is too exhausted to stand a chance. Bane dominates him, beating him mercilessly before delivering the infamous final blow. Bane lifts Batman over his head and snaps his spine. Bruce collapses, paralyzed, and Gotham is left without a Batman. So with Gotham left without its protector, a new Batman rises, but his reign is far darker than anyone could have predicted. So with Bruce out of commission, he entrusts the mantle of Batman to John Paul Valley, aka Ezreal, a former assassin trained by the secretive Order of St. Thomas. However, John Paul is not Bruce Wayne. He is unstable, brutal, and merciless, replacing Batman's code of honor with violence and fear. His new heavily armored batsuit symbolizes his descent into an unrecognizable version of Batman, terrifying even his allies. So John faces Bane, but unlike Bruce, he has no restraint, and in an ultra-violent battle, Azrael brutalizes Bane, nearly killing him. So while Gotham falls into chaos under John Paul's reign, Bruce undergoes intensive recovery and retraining to reclaim his mantle. After months of grueling rehabilitation, Bruce returns and challenges John Paul in a final battle. Bruce outsmarts John Paul, proving that being Batman is not just about strength, but about control, intelligence, and honor. He reclaims the call, restoring Gotham's true Batman. This storyline proved that Batman is not invincible, making him a more human and compelling character. And no villain before had truly broken Bruce Wayne. Bane became one of his most dangerous foes, rivaling Joker and Ra's al Ghul. And John's fall leads to future storylines, as his actions would influence Batman's Prodigal and Batman's Sword of Azrael, exploring whether he could ever be redeemed. And this story directly inspired Christopher Nolan's film The Dark Knight Rises. The death of Superman. It's one of the most famous and emotionally impactful comic book events of all time. Written by Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Louis Simonson, and Roger Stern, with art by John Bogdanove, Tom Grummett, and others. This storyline shook the comic book industry and redefined Superman's place in pop culture. The story begins with a mysterious monstrous force known as Doomsday suddenly emerges from a deep underground prison, destroying everything in its path. The first heroes to confront him are the Justice League International, including Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, and Guy Gardner, but they are completely annihilated. Doomsday kills without hesitation, proving that he is unlike any villain before. So Superman rushes to stop the creature, only to realize that this enemy is unlike anything he's ever faced. Doomsday is unstoppable. He does not speak, he does not reason, and he cannot be stopped by conventional means. And as he cheers through the Justice League, it becomes clear that only Superman can stand against him. Every attack Superman throws at Doomsday is shrugged off, while each punch Doomsday lands breaks bones, shatters windows, and tears apart the city. As Superman and Doomsday level entire landscapes, their fight reaches Metropolis, bringing destruction to Superman's home city. Superman realizes that if he does not stop Doomsday here, millions will die. Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and the citizens of Metropolis watch in horror as Superman and Doomsday tear through buildings, and in a final desperate act, Superman and Doomsday land one last punch on each other at the same time, causing a shockwave that levels the surrounding area. Doomsday collapses, finally dead, and Superman stumbles, falls into Lois Lane's arms, and dies. Lois held Superman's lifeless body, while the entire world watches in horror as the most invincible hero ever created falls before an unstoppable force. Metropolis, usually protected by Superman, is powerless to stop Doomsday, showing how much they truly depend on him. So this wasn't just a death of a hero, it's a death of hope, optimism, and the idea that Superman will always save the day. And with his tattered cape, fluttering like a falling flag, represents the death of a legend. Heroes and citizens alike grieve Superman's loss, showing how deeply he impacted the world. The death of Superman was a global phenomenon, breaking sales records and drawing mainstream media attention. And after his death, 4 new Supermen appear, claiming to be his successor: Hank Henshaw aka Cyborg Superman, John Henry Irons aka Steel, Con-El aka Superboy, and the Eradicator. Eventually Superman returns, but the impact of his death changes him forever. And this story influenced Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Superman Doomsday, the 2007 animated film, and The Death and Return of Superman, the 2018 animated adaptation. Infinite Crisis. Written by Jeff Jones with art by Phil Jimenez, George Perez, and Jerry Ordway, it's a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And unlike its predecessor, which sought to unify and simplify the DC universe, Infinite Crisis does the opposite. It exposes the flaws of the modern DCU and questions whether the heroes have lost their way. At its core, Infinite Crisis is a story of hope versus cynicism, where long-forgotten heroes from the pre-Crisis multiverse return and find themselves horrified by the darker, more violent world of the post-Crisis era. And this leads to a massive war across realities. For years, the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths were thought to be final. The multiverse was erased and only a single DC universe remained. However, it is revealed that 3 survivors of the original Crisis, Superman of Earth 2, Lois Lane of Earth 2, and Superboy Prime, have been trapped in a paradise dimension for nearly 2 decades. Watching from their prison, these pre-Crisis survivors become disillusioned with the modern DC universe, believing that heroes have become too dark, too cynical, and too too willing to kill. Earth 2 Superman believes the world needs the hope of his lost Earth 2, and Superboy Prime becomes frustrated and unstable, seeing himself as the real Superboy and resenting Con-El, Superboy of post-crisis continuity. And Alexander Luthor Jr. from Earth 3 has a secret agenda to restore the multiverse and reshape it in his image. And as tensions escalate, these returning heroes trigger a massive conflict, leading to a cataclysmic war that threatens all of existence. So the story begins with the Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, fractured due to the aftermath of Identity Crisis and Countdown to Infinite Crisis. Maxwell Lord, leader of Checkmate, is revealed as a villain and mind controls Superman, forcing Wonder Woman to kill him on live television. Batman, feeling betrayed by his own paranoia, loses faith in his fellow heroes, believing they have failed the world. Earth 2 Superman and Lois Lane escape their pocket dimension, believing they can restore Earth 2 and bring back a purer age of heroism. And like I mentioned, Superboy Prime, once a hopeful young hero, becomes unstable, resenting Con-El and the entire modern DCU. Feeling rejected and enraged, he snaps, killing multiple Teen Titans and members of the GSA. Superboy Prime punches Panza's head off, then kills Will the Beast and Bushiroad effortlessly. He then slaughters a group of Green Lanterns, proving himself far more powerful and dangerous than any other Kryptonian. Alexander Luthor reveals that he has been manipulating the entire crisis using Superboy Prime and Earth 2 Superman to bring back the multiverse. He constructs a massive machine powered by kidnapped heroes, including Captain Marvel, Power Girl, and the Anti-Monitor's corpse. His plan is to recreate the perfect Earth by merging and reshaping multiple realities. And with the multiverse splitting apart, all of Earth's heroes launch a final assault on Luthor's machine, trying to stop the return of Infinite Earths. Batman nearly executes Luthor, but chooses to spare him, proving he hasn't lost his way. Superman of Earth 2 and Superman of Earth 1 team up for the last time, trying to save the collapsing universe. And Superman Prime, now fully unhinged, believes he is the true Superman and attempts to remake the universe in his own image. A final brutal battle erupts between Superboy Prime, Earth 1 Superman, and Earth 2 Superman on Mogo, the sentient Green Lantern planet. Earth 2 Superman dies, unfortunately, finally reuniting with Lois in the afterlife. And Superman of Earth 1, with his last strength, defeats Superboy Prime, who is then imprisoned in the Speed Force and later a Red Sun prison by the Green Lantern Corps. So the battle is won, but at a great cost. Superman of Earth 2 dies, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman temporarily retire, and the DCU is left permanently changed with new Earths forming in the background. So Infinite Crisis undoes the effect of Crisis on Infinite Earths, allowing for multiple Earths to exist again, and the post-Crisis DC universe officially ends, leading to events like 52 and eventually the new 52 reboot. 52. Written by Jeff Jones, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, and Mark Waid, with art by Kate Giffen and others, instead of DC focusing on its biggest heroes like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, this series explored the lives of DC's second-tier heroes. Spanning 52 issues, the series takes place in real time, covering the missing year after the events of Infinite Crisis, when the world was left without its most iconic superheroes. So this is not your usual traditional crossover event, but a slow-burn, character-driven epic. So after the devastation of Infinite Crisis, the Trinity disappear for an entire year, to recover and rebuild. In their absence, a new generation of heroes rises, while dark forces emerge to take advantage of the power vacuum. The series follows multiple parallel storylines, each focusing on different characters as they struggle to define what it means to be a hero, in a world without its greatest symbols of hope. So Black Adam, once a villain, becomes a ruler, establishing the nation of Kahndaq as a global superpower. He meets and falls in love with Isis, a kind-hearted woman who softens his rage. Under their rule, Kahndaq thrives, but when tragedy strikes, Black Adam descends into brutal vengeance, triggering a war against the world. His final rampage, known as World War III, sees him slaughtering millions, forcing the world's heroes to take him down. There's also Booster Gold, a time-traveling hero from the future, who notices that time itself is breaking. Clues left by Rip Hunter, the greatest time traveler in DC Comics, suggest a massive conspiracy involving the destruction of the multiverse. Booster Gold is mocked and ignored until it's revealed that Mr. Mind, a seemingly harmless villain, has evolved into a cosmic-level threat, capable of eating time itself. And in another story, former detective Renee Montoya becomes lost in self-destruction after losing her faith in Gotham, drinking and wasting away her potential. She is approached by the Question, Vic Sage, who pushes her toward a mystical mystery involving the crime Bible and Intergang. As Vic succumbs to terminal cancer, Renee is forced to step up and take his place, becoming the new Question. And with Superman gone, John Henry Irons, aka Steel, tries to protect Metropolis without superpowers, using only his armor and intelligence. And his niece Natasha is seduced by Lex Luthor's promise of artificial metahuman abilities, leading to a tragic family conflict. Seal is forced to fight his own family, proving that true heroism isn't about powers, it's about heart. And the end of the series confirms that the multiverse has been reborn, setting up future events like Final Crisis. 52 marks the official return of multiple Earths, undoing the single universe rule established in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And new legacies are established. Renee Montoya fully becomes the Question, Booster Gold becomes a true time-traveling hero, and Black Adam's downfall cements him as a tragic villain. And the fallout of 52 leads directly into Countdown to Final Crisis, Black Adam the Dark Age, and Final Crisis. This was a unique storytelling achievement with a weekly comic series released with no delays, proving that long-form storytelling can work in superhero comics. Every story arc connects seamlessly, making it one of the best written DC sagas ever. Blackest Night. It's one of the darkest and most terrifying crossover events in DC history, written by Jeff Jones with art by Ivan Reis. The event sees Necron, the embodiment of death itself, raising the dead as Black Lanterns, turning fallen heroes and villains into emotionless monsters. As Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and the surviving heroes fight to stop this nightmare, they realize that even death is not the end, and that the dead are not coming back to save them, but to destroy them. For years, death in the DC universe has become meaningless, with heroes like Superman, Green Lantern, and Flash returning from the grave multiple times. But now, death strikes back. The Black Lantern Corps, led by Necron, rises to reclaim all who have escaped death. Using black power rings, Necron resurrects dead heroes and villains, turning them into Black Lanterns, emotionless, soulless versions of themselves who feed on the emotions of the living. The Green Lantern Corps, the Justice League, and the surviving members of other Lantern Corps must band together to stop the Blackest Night from consuming the universe. Fallen heroes like Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Firestorm, and the Elongated Man come back as Black Lanterns, targeting their former allies. The Justice League, Titans, and Lantern Corps struggle as their former loved ones attack them, and Black Hand, Necron's servant, acts as the herald of death, spreading Black Lantern rings across the universe. The different Lantern Corps, green, red, blue, yellow, orange, indigo, and violet, realizes that they must work together to fight the Black Lantern. So despite their differences, they must form a temporary alliance to fight the darkness. Necron reveals that all resurrected heroes like Superman, Green Lantern, and Flash were never truly alive, only allowed to return so he could claim them later. His ultimate goal is to erase all life from existence, replacing it with eternal death. He creates a Black Lantern Batman, using Bruce Wayne's corpse to unleash an even greater wave of destruction. And as the heroes struggle, Hal Jordan and Barry Allen lead the fight against Necron. Sinestro bonds with the entity, the being of pure life, becoming the first White Lantern. Eventually, Hal Jordan and others unlock the power of white light, using it to revive the true fallen heroes and destroy Necron's hold over the universe. This event introduces White Lanterns, beings who represent pure life energy, and the alliances between the different Lantern Corps set up future conflicts like Brightest Day and War of the Green Lanterns. And this event elevates Black Hand, Atrocitus, Saint Walker, and Larfleeze, making them major players in DC's cosmic lore. It's rare for a DC event to feel like pure horror, making Blackest Night stand out. Watching heroes fight undead versions of their friends and loved ones makes every battle personal. Every page is cinematic, bringing the horror and spectacle to life. Final Crisis. Written by Grant Morrison with art by G.J. Jones, Doug Mankey, and Carlos Pacheco, Final Crisis is a meta-narrative about the nature of stories, the fall of gods, and the ultimate corruption of reality itself. At its core, this event is the endgame of Darkseid, where he achieves ultimate victory and rewrites existence in his image. So Darkseid has finally won, using the anti-life equation. He has corrupted and enslaved the minds of Earth's population, bending them to his will. The gods of New Genesis are dead, replaced by the evil new gods, who have taken over human bodies. Superheroes fall one by one, as reality itself begins to unravel. The multiverse collapses and time becomes meaningless. The only hope lies in Superman, Batman, and the surviving heroes, but they are facing a force beyond comprehension. So Darkseid has discovered the anti-life equation, a formula that erases free will, turning people into mindless slaves. He spreads it through technology and media, infecting the world at an alarming rate. Earth becomes Apocalypse Reborn, a world where Darkseid is absolute and resistance is nearly impossible. Batman, knowing he cannot physically defeat Darkseid, uses a godlike killing bullet to shoot him, mortally wounding the tyrant. However, in his last act, Darkseid unleashes the Omega Sanction, sending Batman through time itself, seemingly killing him. This moment leads to one of the most iconic images in DC history: Superman holding Batman's lifeless body. So Superman travels to the Bleed, the space between universes, in search of a way to reserve Darkseid influence. He creates the Miracle Machine, an ancient device that can reshape reality with thought. And Barry Allen, missing since Crisis on Infinite Earths, returns from the Speed Force, running through time to stop the Black Racer. He warns the heroes of the impending destruction of reality, setting up the final confrontation. And as Darkseid's presence corrupts all of existence, the multiverse begins to fall apart. The heroes launch one final assault, but they are running out of time, literally. The only hope is for Superman to use the Miracle Machine before everything is erased. And in a stunning sequence, Darkseid's physical body is destroyed, but his essence remains, threatening to drag reality into nothingness. Superman uses the Miracle Machine, powered by pure thought, to reboot the universe, undoing Darkseid's final victory. However, the cost is great. The heroes are scattered across time and space, and Batman remains lost in history. And while this event didn't immediately reboot continuity, Final Crisis set the stage for Flashpoint, which led to the New 52 reboot. Batman's death leads to the return of Bruce Wayne, where he travels through time to reclaim his place in history, and though defeated, Darkseid's influence remains, leading to the Darkseid War in 2015, where he returns even stronger. Final Crisis reintroduces elements of the multiverse, making it a permanent part of DC continuity again. And after being gone for over 20 years, Barry Allen's return is a major moment for DC Comics. And Final Crisis reintroduces elements of the multiverse, making it a permanent part of DC continuity once again. Flashpoint. Written by Jeff Jones with art by Andy Kubert, it's one of the most pivotal events in DC Comics history. It is a dark, tragic and mind-bending story about the consequences of time travel, exploring how one small change can rewrite an entire universe. This event follows the Flash as he accidentally alters history, creating a twisted version of reality where everything is wrong. And with time running out, Barry must restore the timeline, but doing so will come at a terrible cost. So Barry Allen wakes up in a world where he doesn't recognize anything. A world where his mother Nora Allen is alive, there's no Justice League, Bruce Wayne was killed as a child, and his father Thomas Wayne becomes a far more violent version of Batman. This Batman kills without hesitation, using guns and extreme brutality. And Martha Wayne, driven mad by grief, becomes the Joker. And as for Superman, instead of landing in Smallville, Kal-El was captured by the government as a baby and kept in a secret underground facility for decades. He is frail, pale and terrified, never having seen the sun. When Barry and Batman free him, he panics and flees, leaving them without hope. And without a Justice League to unite them, Wonder Woman and Aquaman have declared war on each other, destroying entire nations. London is underwater, and millions are dead in a global superhuman conflict. As Barry investigates, he realizes that this nightmare is his fault. He changed history by saving his mother from being murdered when he was a child. Now he must fix the timeline before his new world collapses, even if it means erasing his mother from existence once again. But the longer Barry stays in this timeline, the more his memories change, meaning he will soon forget the original reality forever. If he doesn't act fast, this dark world will become the only reality left. So as Aquaman and Wonder Woman's war escalates, Barry reunites with Superman, convincing him to help. Thomas Wayne sacrifices himself, helping Barry escape and fix the timeline, and Barry runs back in time, stopping his past self from saving his mother, thus restoring the timeline. However, this does not bring back the original DC universe, instead it creates the New 52, a rebooted continuity. The concept of Thomas Wayne as Batman became so popular that he returned in later stories like The Button and Dark Knight's Metal. And this event cemented why the Flash should never alter the timeline, influencing future stories like Doomsday Clock. And Flashpoint even inspired some live action and animated adaptations like The Flashpoint Paradox, the 2013 animated film, one of DC's best animated adaptations, and The Flash, the 2023 movie, loosely based on Flashpoint, exploring Barry's time travel mistakes.